It's our NFL episode. That's right, NFL episode for this Thursday's football rendition of the podcast. Because ESPN just put out a ranking system for the all quarter century or the all 2000s team is what I'm going to call it. And Tubby and I, we got some opinions on it. So what better time than the podcast to go ahead and talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, because we're a month and a half from August.
It's true. Yeah, a month and a half from August preseason. I mean, it's time. Let's talk about it.
Right around the corner.
Yeah. So if you're new to the podcast, welcome to the W Sports Podcast. I'm Jimothy, myself. We got Tubby right over here in this corner, and best co-host in the business, most knowledgeable co-host when it comes to sports. And so you've come to the right place if you're looking for a sports podcast that just is different, independent sports podcast that allows you to put your thoughts out there too. So go ahead, use the chat today. Make sure you put your thoughts out there, and we'll try to use those. And if we don't get to them today, we'll try to get to them in the comment section afterwards. But Tubby, this all quarter century team, the all 2000s team, it starts with quarterback, and they had some rules. So if you all haven't seen the list, they're like they can only have stats from the 2000s if they're a 90s player like Brett Favre, but also played in the other one. They can still be on the team. So just know that happens. It's not like, oh, Peyton Manning's excluded because he was drafted in 98. Like, no, he can still happen. We only use the stats from there. So his 28 interception season is not there. So, thank goodness. All right. So we're going to start with quarterbacks because what better position to start with? And it has three. So it has the Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Patrick Mahomes. And it does have two practice squad, almost an honorable mention with Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees. But what do you feel about this? Any problems that you have with this top three?
I don't. I think they did it right on the quarterbacks. Like, I know there's going to be people arguing, oh, Mahomes has only been in the league 7 years. What about the longevity of, Drew Brees and stuff? Patrick Mahomes has won 3 Super Bowls.
This is very true.
And 3 Super Bowls in the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Or 6 years now, but he absolutely deserves to be on that list. So yeah, I think they did it right with the quarterbacks for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to put Aaron Rodgers over him based off his full career, like at this point, just because of Super Bowls. I think that's it. Yeah. And the problem I have with Drew Brees is that I think you can either choose Drew Brees or Peyton Manning, but you don't need both.
Yeah.
And because I think there's a separation. If you're doing like top quarterbacks all time, I think you get the Montana, Brady, or Mahomes. Which of the two do you want? If you only get to keep two, I think you might not keep Patrick Mahomes at that point. So that's the kind of the ruling I have in my brain when it comes to this. So I was 100% on board with it. Was there a different honorable mention? Like, I mean, are you so done with Aaron Rodgers that you'd like, no, he shouldn't be on the list?
No, I get Aaron Rodgers. If we're talking just like pure like quarterback play, is one of the best quarterbacks. When it comes to throwing the football, the IQ, all that stuff, he absolutely deserves to be in the honorable mentions. Just because, only got 1 Super Bowl, but he's also, I mean, you look at the touchdown to interception ratio there for
wild,
that long stretch of time, and what 1 year he went through 39 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. So I mean, he absolutely deserves to be on that honorable mention. I don't know if I would really come up with another one that had any more argument over him.
No, 100% agreement there. I just, wanted to see, because I couldn't come up with anyone. The only one I could think of is possibly going to be a Ben Roethlisberger type guy because of what he's done. Or if you wanted to say, well, on Lamar Jackson because he's got multiple MVPs, but no Super Bowl. So in my mind, there's no way. I think you have to wait quite a bit. In any one of these 3 quarterbacks, you got to be stoked to have the 3 starters. So all right, running backs. I don't know if this is in any particular order, but they put the Priest Holmes right there first, followed by CMC and Derrick Henry with a practice squad of LaDainian Tomlinson. All right, how do you feel about this part of the list?
So Priest Holmes had one of the most dominant stretches we've seen in recent history when it comes to running backs in the last 25 years. So I absolutely love that they put him on there. Christian McCaffrey. I love Christian McCaffrey, what he does, but the injuries, he should not be on this list. The guy that should be on this list is LaDainian Tomlinson.
Not even close. Absolutely.
Not even close. Yeah. And Derrick Henry, rightfully so, should be on here because the longevity, what he's done for a guy his size. And we've seen, over the years, running backs come and go quite a bit in the NFL, especially over the last 25 years, for him to be as dominant as he is going, each year, absolutely deserves to be up there. But Christian McCaffrey, yes, he's had some fantastic seasons, but he's also had many seasons where he only played a few games because of the injuries. Give me LaDainian Tomlinson 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And here's the biggest thing I have: 81 all-purpose touchdowns with 10,000 yards. His career's not done.
Hmm.
He's past the peak. CMC is.
Yeah.
You compare that to LT. He had 13,000 rushing yards. He
Hmm.
had another 4,700 receiving yards and 17 touchdowns there. But you look at Derrick Henry. The thing that we, especially when you go into the fantasy football season, which yes, we will cover that on the podcast a little bit this year too. But when you think about Derrick Henry, you're like, I know I'm getting 12 to 15 touchdowns. He has 111 all-purpose touchdowns so far in his career, and he's since 2016. LT has. Can you tell me how many he has? Or just give ballpark. How about ballpark it? And I need you to know it's more. It's more.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know it's more because he had multiple 20 touchdown seasons. Let's say 141.
He had 145 rushing touchdowns with another
Wow.
17 receiving scores. That's 162 times he found the end zone. And some people are going to say, well, he's played longer. He played 10 seasons. That's all I'm saying. The fact that give me Derrick Henry, I'm okay with Priest Holmes as well. And CMC can be an honorable mention, but I'm not going to put him on this list. It's not even.
No.
I probably could find another running back besides CMC to put on the list. And I feel like that's being mean to the current, all-purpose guy. But no,
I don't think it is though. I mean, like we discussed last year when we were having this discussion. Christian McCaffrey is a Hall of Famer, but what about Alvin Kamara? They're so similar, when it comes to stat wise, that honestly, I think it's even hard to put Christian McCaffrey in the honorable mentions. Also just because, like I said, he hasn't shown the longevity when it comes to the running back, and it's tough. I think you could look at a guy maybe like Sean Alexander could possibly be up in that conversation. He had some just as big seasons as Christian McCaffrey has had. Maybe didn't have the receiving yards or anything like that, but he was also super dominant throughout how many year span. So I don't know. For me, when I look at the running backs, I want to see some guy that's out there playing most of the season and not someone that's missed 3 or 4 seasons because of injuries.
All right, so that brings up one person who didn't make the list as an honorable mention, but I want to know your thoughts because you mentioned Sean Alexander, but how about Adrian Peterson?
Yeah, I mean, that's another one. And granted, he also missed a couple of seasons due to some injuries and some other stuff. But Adrian Peterson, if you ask a lot of people, they will say he was probably the most talented running back they've ever seen.
Yeah.
Just because of the size, the speed, the hands. I mean, he had the full package, and unfortunately, we didn't get to see enough of it. But I think that's a great argument, and I would probably put him over Christian McCaffrey also.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I get he can go anywhere all the time.
Yeah.
But there's so many. I mean, I don't know.
But you got to play. That's my thing. Is you got to play. Just because you are great doesn't mean that you deserve to be on the list if you are missing so many games throughout your career.
Yeah. And then let me look up this guy's stats. Maybe this guy didn't have nearly enough touchdowns, I think, but Chris Johnson, I think people do forget how impactful he was for that season. And he was one of the first guys who's like, all right, he went down. Once he was done, they kind of moved on. And then let me look at one more running back. I don't know how much he had.
This might sound like a Packer homerish thing, but I think you look at a guy like Ahman Green, what he did in Green Bay, and then even up whenever he left Green Bay and went to the Houston Texans, he was still super productive even for an older guy, and it was a consistent career where he was a consistent running back.
Edgerrin James.
Yeah.
Only 91 career touchdowns. I think that's the biggest knock on him, but he did that. Essentially, he did that in, what was it, 8 seasons.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, this dude was so good. But even then, he played more games more often than CMC does.
He did. Yeah. I mean, even a guy like Matt Forte, if we're trying to talk about a guy that is multifaceted, we're talking about Matt Forte, who at one point set the record for most receptions in a season from a running back standpoint. And it may not have been the super long, as like the Derrick Henrys or the LaDainian Tomlinsons, but there for a stretch, he was one of the most underrated players in the NFL because of what he could do running the football and catching the football out of the backfield.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at the running back, I figured this and the wide receiver position might be some of the
Yeah.
most, but there's some on the defensive side that
Mhm.
I do
Yeah.
want to get to too.
Yeah, there's a
So
few there.
we're gonna move quickly through the fullbacks, unless there's anybody else you want to mention in the running backs. But fullback, then with Kyle Juszczyk, I think this is one. This is low hanging fruit. I think you could
Yeah.
have gone back in the day to maybe some of the Baltimore Ravens back when they were really
Yeah.
good in the early 2000s. I'm not gonna argue with it. It's fine. It's
Yeah.
good.
I mean,
Mike
Lorenzo
Allstott
Neal.
would Mike
Yeah.
Allstott
Mike Allstott. Yeah.
would have
Lorenzo
been right on
Neal,
the
I
trail
think,
too.
is another one too.
Yeah,
But the thing
yeah,
about Lorenzo Neal, if we're looking at him, it's more he was just that I'm gonna open the hole for you type guy. Wasn't gonna do the, what Juszczyk could do or what Mike Allstott could do. But we're talking about just fullback play. Lorenzo Neal is one of the best fullbacks to ever play the game.
yeah. I do hope that in the next 6 years, 5 6 years, we start to see this become a more impactful position
Yes.
than what we have recently. But yeah, Lorenzo
Yeah.
Neal. I mean, he played all the way through 2008, and he
Yeah.
started in 1993. Like his career
Mhm.
was so long in that position. It was great.
Yeah.
So now we move to wide receivers. Now there are 6 wide receivers. You already know. We got Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, Terrell Owens, Marvin Harrison, and Justin Jefferson with 2 practice squads, Andre Johnson and Antonio Brown. What problems do you
Mhm.
have with this, or do you think this is 6 for 6 with +2?
I think they did relatively good. I mean, Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, Terrell Owens, I think Marvin Harrison are locks. You could probably have some argument maybe with Julio Jones, but Julio Jones, when he was right, was
Unstoppable.
unstoppable. The guy I have a problem with is Justin Jefferson, and it may be just because he hasn't been in the league enough. Andre Johnson, I think, should be on the list over him. Antonio Brown, but I also think Davante Adams should be on this list somewhere. With what he's done, and even with all the injuries that Rodgers dealt with, and they bring in these other quarterbacks, he still had 1,000 yards receiving. You know,
Hmm.
when he went to Las Vegas, even with the quarterbacks outside the one season where he got hurt, had 1,000 yards. Last year had 1,000 yards in only like 6 games with or not 6 games, but half the season with the Jets. I think he deserves to be on this list over Justin Jefferson because Davante Adams was the best wide receiver for a 4 or 5 year span. Justin Jefferson has been in the league only 5 years.
Hmm.
And has he been the best receiver every single year he's been in the league? No.
It's true. That was the problem I had too. Is Justin Jefferson? I don't think he should be there yet. I think this is a lot of projection, which is
Projection.
fine. But
Yeah.
the whole point was
It was.
receivers from this time. And I think even talent
Mhm.
wise, Andre
Mhm.
Johnson. What were
Yeah.
his quarterbacks?
Yeah.
Because I think the best one he ever played with was Matt Schaub.
Yep.
So the fact that he put up the numbers he did, it's kind of like
Mhm.
even DeAndre Hopkins was great whenever he had no
Yeah.
quarterbacks. I
Yeah.
would have also put Antonio Brown. I think people
Mhm.
like this is the short term memory. People are not
Yeah.
thinking of Antonio Brown dominating with the Steelers
Yeah.
for year after year after year. That's my thing. You said Julio Jones. My biggest not issue, but my hardest part is like, dude only had 66 touchdowns. I say only. I don't have any.
Yeah.
I understand that. But when you look at guys like Terrell Owens with
Yeah.
123, Marvin Harrison with 95, and what was it? Calvin Johnson at 83, and he was in Detroit.
Well,
And Randy
yeah.
Moss 128. Like it was just it's on the lower
Mhm.
side for a guy who dominated, but that was always his thing. He
Did
was not
not.
the touchdown guy as
Mhm.
much as you'd want him to, especially with Matt Ryan.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I think I'm not surprised that we both had the same thoughts. I literally wrote this down. I knew you were going to say Justin Jefferson, but he's probably on track for it though in the future,
Yes. But
everybody.
we're talking about in the last 25 years. Is he one of the top 6 wide receivers in the
Yeah.
last 25 years? No, because he hasn't done it enough. He hasn't done it long enough because you never know what happens this year with JJ McCarthy as the
Mhm.
quarterback.
Mhm.
If he,
Mhm.
he could have a span now over the next few years with the questions at quarterback after signing the big contract extension, where he's not, up there when it comes to statistics with the best wide receivers because of the quarterback play, and then that will kind of weed out, you know, him throughout this list compared to guys like Andre Johnson who didn't have great quarterbacks, and I mean even Calvin Johnson, he had Matthew Stafford for a few years, and that was about it.
But yeah, and I loved that the article did mention this. Where let me scroll up here. It said, "Oh, what's most amazing about Johnson is what he did without Matthew Stafford as a quarterback. During Detroit's 0-16 season in 2008, he managed 1,300 yards with Dan Orlowski, John
Mm-hmm.
Kitna, and Dante
Dante
Culpepper.
Culpepper.
Now, for the record, Dante Culpepper was good in 2004.
Mm.
Okay, this was
Yeah.
2008. This is well
Yeah.
after he was already fallen off. This is classic.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So what about Jamar Chase? How close is Jamar Chase to what Justin Jefferson? Are you
I
still like
mean,
not enough?
yeah, still not enough. Because right now I think Jamar Chase is better wide receiver than Justin Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not gonna put either of them up there. We got a question in the chat real quick. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, I
Benjamin
can't. So yeah.
Benjamin put it in there. Was Philip Rivers the greatest quarterback of this era not to win a Super Bowl?
Oh man, that's a really good question, and it's that classic. To tell you, do you have a quick thought as like
I
you
say
got the
yes.
response?
I think he is, and I think the numbers back it up. Yes, he fell short in the playoffs. We all know that, but a lot of Marty Schottenheimer teams fell short in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I think he is. I mean, he's very underrated. I think you can throw Matt Ryan up there in that
Ooh,
conversation,
that's
but
literally what I'm looking up right now is the difference
but
between the two guys.
I'm going to side with Philip Rivers over Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt
Go
Ryan's
ahead.
got the MVP, but
Mm-hmm.
I think Philip Rivers had a harder time to win an MVP because of the Peyton Mannings and the Aaron Rodgers and the Drew Brees, Tom Brady's that he played the majority with. Where Matt Ryan towards he was a little bit further down the road where he didn't have to deal with the prime of those guys.
Yeah, and yeah, as you look, the numbers are pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
Rivers does have more touchdowns. He has more interceptions too. That was kind of his thing a
Yes.
little bit. But record-wise, these guys are almost identical over the
Mm-hmm.
career that they have. Yards, touchdowns, all that stuff. I think you could tell me either one.
Yeah.
One got closer though.
One did.
And so
One
does
did.
that mean that they were a better quarterback, or does that just mean that you know what they were in the NFC that year? They had that, and they
That,
should have won. Matt Ryan should
yeah.
have won.
Yeah. They had a better team, I think, at that point, that 1 year than probably Philip Rivers had in his career.
Yeah.
If we're talking
What
about as a whole.
Yes. What a question. Benjamin,
Yeah.
please put your
Feel
thoughts in
free
the
to.
chat as well. It sounds like that's what you're thinking, but
Yeah.
what do you think between the comparison between he and Matt Ryan? Because
Mm-hmm.
those are the top two for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the one thing about Jamar Chase, he has more touchdowns already. He has one
Yeah.
fewer season. In order for him to surpass the yardage this year, he would
Mm-hmm.
need a single touchdown. I just mentioned that, but he would need nearly 1,800 yards receiving, which is insane.
Yeah. But I mean, it's still one of the. I mean, but you also got to look at too how many more games has Justin Jefferson played at the time that Jamar Chase came into the league too, because we've seen Chase have some injuries and he's still putting up the same numbers as Justin Jefferson
True.
in fewer games.
Better quarterback.
And that is very true.
I mean, and great chemistry with his quarterback from college.
But you also got to think though, he had 2 years where Joe Burrow was hurt.
Also true. Also true. I'm just saying. I think
Yeah.
you're going to look at this list and Justin Jefferson, or not Justin Jefferson. I think you're going to get the To and the Randy Moss comparison between these two guys.
Yeah.
So I could totally
absolutely
see that. All right, let's move on to tight ends. We got 3 tight ends. We got Gronk, Travis Kelce, and Tony Gonzalez. Sorry, I just pictured him saying his name on Monday Night Football, and that's what I said it like that. So if anyone's wondering, where did that name come from like that? Monday Night Football, he was great at those things.
Yeah.
With the practice squad being Antonio Gates. Any feelings on these ones?
No questions. Yeah. This is right.
Yeah, I would agree. These are the top 4 in that era, I would believe, even just not only stats wise, but they were just so good. I was waiting for someone to say Vernon Davis or something.
Now,
like
if you're going to pick another one throughout that era, it's going to be Jason Witten.
Witten would have been, yeah. No,
I think
Shockey?
No Jeremy Shockey. But these 4 are potentially the 4 greatest tight ends to ever play the game.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
It's hard for me to Gates and Kellen Winslow, the senior, man, he was so good, especially before his time.
Yes, no, I get that, but I mean, it's hard to argue with, especially throughout this era. Those 4 are head and above everyone else.
Yeah. All right. Well, if we're good on those, we're going to move on to the linemen. We're going to start with what is this? Left tackles, Joe Thomas and Trent Williams, the top 2 right there. Any problems?
No problems.
Left guards, Alan Faneca, Steve Hutchinson. Totally makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
Steve
I
Hutchinson
don't.
for sure.
Yeah, I honestly I don't know if we have to go through. I mean, for me, I don't have to go through the offensive line. They nailed it right on the head with
The
everything that
only
they're
one I
doing.
was close to was Jason Kelce at center, and I might be biased with Jeff Saturday. But
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
not going to disagree
but
with it. I think
yeah,
Jason
yeah.
Kelce was great.
Jeff Saturday has a great argument, but to me, it's hard not to put Jason Kelce there.
Agreed. Yeah, one of the
Yeah,
best to ever have done the interior offensive line. So, well, okay. With that being said, we don't really have any problems. Even on my notes, I was like, I kind of agree with all these
yeah,
classic legends. So, we can
yeah.
move to
I
the
mean,
edge
if
rushers.
maybe like we're looking at right guard, if we want to argue, I maybe put Marshall Yonda over Zach Martin, but I think it's so neck and neck that you can kind of flip a coin and just decide.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to edge rushers. This is when you get into some of the classic names. So we got Demarcus Ware, Jared Allen, Miles Garrett, and Julius Peppers.
Hmm.
Any problems? I don't
I'm
have
finding
problems
a
with these guys.
I don't either. Like, I love that they put Jared Allen up there. So many people overlook Jared Allen for what
Forget.
yeah.
He was
And
so
so
good.
it's kind of hard to, argue against this. I mean, I think maybe TJ Watt would have an argument with Miles Garrett, but I still think Miles Garrett's the better player.
Yeah, give me Miles Garrett over TJ. Health, right?
Yeah,
Give me Miles Garrett all day,
exactly.
every day.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think TJ Watt, yeah, he was on the practice squad along with Michael
Hmm.
Strahan. Here's the problem I have. Michael Strahan is
Yeah.
not on this list.
No.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. But
But
but the
but
thing
who am I
is
gonna
like
bump off the list?
that's exactly it. It's like who are you gonna knock off that list?
Miles Garrett. Just
I
for
mean,
now.
yeah, I think you can make that argument for sure. I mean, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be mad if that's the way it was, but also I'm not mad the way it is now.
Yeah, no, I'm not disappointed. I'd like it for it not to be DeMarcus Ware because he was a Cowboy for so long,
Yeah,
but I'm not gonna knock it either. It definitely
no,
makes sense. He
yeah,
got the Super Bowl in the end,
hmm,
so all good there. Defensive tackles, we got 3 of them. Aaron Donald, Calais Campbell, and Chris Jones.
I mean,
It's
yeah,
so good.
it's correct.
Yeah, Kevin Williams and Cameron Hayward were the practice squad guys.
Yeah,
Cameron Hayward was really good. Kevin Williams, I think people aren't gonna remember a whole lot
Kevin
or
Williams
think
was
of.
a monster. So
Yeah.
yeah, but if the thing is the defensive tackle position now is so much different than it used to be.
Mhm.
They're not just run stuffers. They're getting after the quarterback too, and I think that's where
Yeah.
we see the vast difference between these three and some of those other guys like Kevin Williams, who yeah he had some good sack seasons, but he's not putting up the sacks that Aaron Donald or Calais Campbell or Chris Jones are putting up, and they're
Aaron
just as
Donald
good run defenders.
in 9 seasons, Aaron Donald somehow managed 111 sacks while getting triple teamed so
Yeah,
often.
yeah,
It's wild. It's because he practiced with knives. If you haven't seen the footage,
yeah.
go Google it. It's insane. Speaking of stuffers, Vince Wilfork was your nose tackle, which I think is pretty
I
spot
mean,
on.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I try to think of someone else, and I was like, I honestly got nothing.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't. Baltimore had someone in the early 2000s, but I don't think. I mean, it
yeah.
definitely didn't have the length. I mean,
Link,
10 years
yeah,
Wilfork
the
had with the
longest.
Patriots before he went to the
Yeah,
Texans first 2
Texans.
seasons.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
hmm, yeah.
Then they got J.J. Watt as a versatile defensive lineman because he can go anywhere, everywhere, all the time, any day, any matchup, doesn't matter.
You could even put
Definitely
him at
makes
tight
sense.
end.
You definitely could. They didn't even put that on here, his
I mean,
touchdown stats.
yeah, you could even
So
put him at tight end.
I think in a pinch, put him at fullback. I'm just saying. I take him over
Absolutely.
Juszczyk.
Oh
So I
yeah.
like that. Moving on to linebackers, this is when it goes. These are some of the middle linebacker guys, the ones that it goes
Hmm.
back to, our old
Yeah.
school football style. You got Ray Lewis, Bobby Wagner, who of course is still playing. Brian
Hmm.
Urlacher, Levante David still playing. Luke Kuechly was the other
Yeah.
one. How you feeling?
So if they're making this like this is the starters, Ray Lewis and Bobby Wagner, I'm gonna flip Urlacher and Bobby Wagner.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know if that's how they're doing it. Levante David has had a great career. I'm putting Patrick Willis on this list.
I
It
like
may
Patrick
not.
Willis too.
He may not have had the super long career, but he was the best linebacker every year he played.
Hmm.
It's hard to have him off this list. because if we're talking about longevity, you have Luke Kuechly on here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, only
So
7 seasons.
yeah, so I think Patrick Willis should be on this list somewhere.
Yeah, you pick which one you want, Lavonte David, or do you want Derek Brooks? But I would lean towards Derek
Yes.
Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. I think they both have a Super Bowl ring,
Yeah.
right? Didn't
Yes.
Yeah, Derek Brooks won the earlier one.
Yeah.
Double check. I want to make myself. Yeah, he did. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that I'm not remembering that wrong.
Yeah.
But I can't argue with any of these. This is a stacked
Mm-hmm.
list. Luke Kuechly has the smallest stats of all of these. But if you talk about a guy who controlled defense like a Ray Lewis did, I mean, it's insane. This is a stacked list. One of the better position groups.
If he didn't have the concussions
Mm-hmm.
and he played a longer career, we'd be talking about him as being one of the best linebackers to play the game.
Yeah, but you can't go wrong with Ray Lewis.
No, Ray Lewis and Brian Urlacher to me are the two that you're just like, yeah, automatically, no questions.
All right, well, let's move on. We got the cornerbacks. We got Revis Island, not even a question, the best corner in my opinion. I think in your opinion too. For a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Champ Bailey, Rondé Barber, Richard Sherman, and Patrick Peterson, with Jalen Ramsey as a practice squad guy.
Yeah, I think they did the corners right.
They're missing a name on here. Missing a name. Who do you think it is?
I don't know.
Ty Law. How in the world is this dude with 53 interceptions, 7 touchdowns, and if you think of playoff career too, oops, sorry about that. I'm getting emotional about this. I'm throwing my phone on the floor. If you think of even the playoff impact that this guy had, he's found himself in the right place at the right time and time again. Yes, because of Belichick and his defense. But the fact that he's not on the list, I am shocked.
Who are you taking off?
Probably Patrick Peterson.
Yeah.
And it's close.
I think that's
Ty Law has to be on this.
Yeah. No, I get that for sure. Yeah, I can see that.
I think if Peyton Manning saw the list, he goes, "You better put Ty Law on this list. He has crushed my dreams for 3 straight years."
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So, anybody else you think that could have?
Trying to think. I mean, not corner, just because I have some issues with the safety, one of the safeties, but you could probably argue like Charles Woodson could be either corner or a safety because he played both positions extremely effective.
Yeah. We gave a lot of praise to Darrelle Revis. 2009, they had the note on here. Even the best NFL receivers disappeared on Revis Island. In the star cornerback's best season in 2009, the Jets allowed an average of 29 yards per game to opposing wide receivers. Revis had an all-time record of passes deflected or defended that season. And keep in mind, that division had Randy Moss when he was just as good. I mean, he was twice. So, like, they were absolutely a beast. Every single week, it was like, put him over there. Don't start him fantasy. If you're playing against the Jets, don't start him.
Yep, there was a long period there where you're like, they're playing the Jets. I don't care who it is. I'm taking them out.
Yeah.
They got a wide receiver playing. Yep, he ain't playing.
Yeah, and it sounds like I already know what your thoughts are for the safeties, but we got Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, Brian Dawkins, and Earl Thomas. Honestly, I looked at this list because Charles Woodson was the practice squad. This was the strongest position group in my eyes on the whole list. Stacked.
I love Earl Thomas. He's a great player. Get him off the list and put Charles Woodson on there. I don't care what anyone wants to say. Charles Woodson is better than Earl Thomas.
I'm not going to disagree with you, but I don't even think it matters. I mean, you get Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, and Brian Dawkins. It doesn't matter who else you put in there. It's just too strong with those 3 names alone. I mean,
well, you throw Charles Woodson on there, and you're talking about 4 of the top 10 safeties of all time.
Yeah.
And Earl Thomas is close. The Legion of, Doom, Boom, whatever you want to call it, was great,
boom.
and he was a big part of that.
Mm-hmm.
But he never was Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson has, you look at safety-wise when it comes to interceptions, forced fumbles, touchdowns, returns.
It's not even close.
Yeah. Charles Woodson is one of the best safeties to ever play the game, and the fact that you have him on the practice squad over Earl Thomas made me mad.
Well, I do feel like Charles Woodson was a man-to-man, and Earl Thomas was part of a zone scheme mostly. Is that right? Am I remembering that right?
Yeah. But the
So
thing is,
I think the numbers were
Charles Woodson played both safety and corner, though.
true. So maybe that's his fault. Maybe we should have had a secondary specialist like we did with J.J. Watt.
Yeah, probably. But I'm just saying, Charles Woodson is a better player than Earl Thomas.
Okay, that's probably true. But the top three, I mean, that's the strongest group out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Punter, Shane Leckler. Any problems?
No questions there.
Kicker, Justin Tucker.
Yeah.
This is wrong. It's
Adam
Vinatieri. Single-handedly won multiple Super Bowls.
He did.
If you were like, oh, I need to have this field goal won, and you're never. It's like it'd be like choosing Peyton Manning over choosing Tom Brady. I love Peyton Manning. I'm choosing Tom Brady every single time. I'm sorry.
But you're also talking about Justin Tucker is the most accurate kicker in NFL history.
Not enough to where it's going to make a big enough difference. When I get a kicker, I'm not thinking of, do I want the most accurate kicker of all time? At one point, Mike Vanderjagt was that guy. So I don't really care. I want the guy who's going to make the field goals when it matters most. And that's when you look at this guy.
But Justin Tucker, the difference, though, is if we're talking Vinatieri and Tucker, is Vinatieri had the opportunity to do it. Justin Tucker didn't.
What do you mean by opportunity?
To win the Super Bowls.
That's not my fault. He hit the.
But that's not Justin Tucker's fault either.
In the playoffs, they both were almost the identical kicking percentage, and he had a lot more attempts. I'm just saying. It's not even a question. I don't even know what we're talking about.
But like I'm saying,
what are we talking about?
You can't knock Justin Tucker because he was on a worse team.
I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying the fact that it's not Vinatieri is hilarious to me.
I mean, they're both going to be Hall of Famers, so it's kind of hard. I mean, I'm not saying that Vinatieri doesn't deserve to be on the list, but I'm just saying I think Justin Tucker equally deserves to be on this list also.
Yeah, I can't believe that we're arguing over kickers, but we are because right? I'm right about this one. I don't understand how you don't see it.
Because I'm looking at the most accurate kicker in NFL history.
Oh, but it's not about that. It's not about
that. It is. It is, though. If we're talking about a kicker, what is the most important thing is accuracy.
No, it's not missing the kick that you should. The Bills could have made it to the Super Bowl 2 years ago had they not missed another kick.
But we're not talking about him. We're talking about Justin Tucker.
And it's not Justin Tucker. It's Adam Vinatieri. That's what I'm sticking with. And this is like, which quarterback do you want right now? Well, Patrick Mahomes, obviously. And you're like, no, I don't. He's probably fourth on my list, which is ridiculous take. That's all I'm saying.
You can't knock Justin Tucker at all for.
I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying it's the wrong
most accurate. Just because Vinatieri made the kicks in the Super Bowl, he had those opportunities. Justin Tucker didn't. So you put Justin Tucker.
So you're judging him saying, well, he did.
No,
he didn't
you're saying Vinatieri because of the Super Bowl.
No.
Yes, no. That's what you said to the very beginning. He single-handedly won multiple Super Bowls. Justin Tucker hasn't had that opportunity. You put him in that situation, I'm pretty sure he's going to make them.
I don't know, but I know Vinatieri is. That's what I know. I know he is. So I got trust in him. So I want him. If you gave me one kicker for all of NFL history, it's him.
I'm taking Justin Tucker.
All right, that's fine. Have fun. Have fun with the person who just got DFA'd.
Well, that has nothing to do with about kicking.
On my team.
That has nothing to do with kicking.
It has everything. You don't understand. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's move on. We got return specialist Devin Hester, no question. It's nice that they put Cordell Patterson in this list just as an honorable mention or practice squad guy, but it's not Devin Hester.
Yeah, no. And then Matthew Slater, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Now, there's one thing that we didn't talk about before we wrap it up. The coaches, Bill Belichick, Kyle Shanahan, and Talib, I agree with. Wade Phillips is a great defensive coordinator, but I have an argument for Steve Spagnuolo.
Oh, yeah, I would agree.
Four Super Bowls in the last, 12 years, 13
Mm-hmm.
years
Mm-hmm.
as a defensive coordinator, give me Steve Spagnuolo.
I would 100% agree. And I liked what they said about Wade Phillips because I
Yeah,
read into it. I was like, okay, tell
yeah.
me what it's always about taking crappy defenses
Hmm.
to top half, but not like
But
elite number one or I won the Super Bowl defenses. That's the problem.
but Spagnuolo has taken a crappy defense and
Hmm.
took them to the Super Bowl and made it the most dominant side of the football when they had a not so great offense and won a Super Bowl with that defense because of the
100%.
defense. And
And here's
that's
the thing.
where the thing is.
And that's what we say this in the podcast. Go listen to last year's episodes. If you get one play and you need
Hmm.
him as a defensive coordinator, it doesn't matter who you get on the defensive talent side, you want
Yeah,
Steve Spagnuolo.
Steve Spagnuolo.
It sounds a lot like if you have one kick to make in the playoffs, you probably want Adam Vinatieri.
So you said probably. So there's this chance that you might want Justin Tucker.
No, I don't.
You
I'm
didn't say
never
you
choosing
didn't say
Justin Tucker.
conclusively.
you
You
just
said
get
probably.
no. This is conclusive evidence. We both agree. This is nice. This is good. Taub as well. Yeah, it was a good. It was a
Yeah.
good one. I did like that they made the Bill Belichick versus Andy Reid was the only other option. Like who?
Yeah.
Because this, I mean, Andy Reid again. Don't forget, people. 5 straight NFC Championship games with the Eagles
With the
back in the
Eagles.
early 2000s with
Yeah.
Donovan McNabb, and to still be doing it 20 years later. Bill Belichick obviously has been and now he's moved on.
Yeah.
But I never fought them for going Bill.
Yeah, no, I don't at all, but I think it's a lot closer conversation than
Yeah.
people want to give it credit for because what Andy Reid has done and when we talk about longevity, he's done it and he has evolved with the game. And that's where Bill Belichick went wrong at the end of his career. He tried to stay with what got him the Super Bowls in the early 2000s, early, the mid 20 teens, but it's not the same NFL anymore. And Andy Reid has evolved with the game. And so I think that's where the argument could come in and go, look, he's won 3 Super Bowls in the last 5-6 years. So there's a great argument, but I think Belichick is the right answer.
Yeah. I do have one more defensive coordinator, though.
Okay.
Romeo Cornell.
Yeah.
I think he gets dinged a little bit for his head coaching record. Part of it was since he was head coaching. But when he was the head coach for the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs and these other teams, he was so good. I mean, think about some of those Patriots teams.
Yeah.
He was so good.
And he gets knocked for that because Bill Belichick is such a defensive-minded guy. Yeah. And so they're like, oh, well, was it him or was it Belichick? Well, he's had success other places.
100%. Yeah. He's one of those guys I wish he would have stayed as a DC, kind of like what Steve has done.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's just your wheelhouse, and you should just own it. So, yeah. Guys, what a list. I know there's definitely a longer episode, but that was a lot of fun. In case you're wondering, with the W Sports Podcast, this started because Tubby and I go back and forth on this kind of stuff since elementary school. And, you just got a glimpse into what it was like for us all those years ago.
What the teachers had to put up with in the classrooms.
We got our work done first, and then we did this.
Yes. Most of the time, homeroom, we'd come in, and this would be the arguments.
100%. The one that still gets under my skin the most is when you used to argue with me over the double switches that Tony La Russa would do with the relief pitcher behind Albert Pujols in extra innings. And you say, it is a good idea. And I'd be like, he gets intentionally walked, and we got nobody to hit. And you're like, no, but it's strategy. And you would just do it because.
Just to get under his skin.
Yeah. Get a little passionate. So. Anyway, if you've enjoyed the podcast at all today, know that we're going to do 2 episodes per week. I will be off next week because of work. I'm working some really long hours. Maybe we can get an episode in on the second half of the week. We'll see how everything rolls out. But stick with us. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because we're going to bring you an episode or 2 episodes every single week for the most part. One's baseball centered during baseball season at the beginning of the week. And then obviously a football episode where if you missed it, we've done some college football episodes the last few weeks. And media days are just around the corner, and that's when we usually start breaking down conferences, whether it's the Power 4 conference or we get into some fun with the MAC and all these other conferences. You're like, I don't even know. This is have fun here. But what I need you to know is Tubby does bring the research when we do those.
I do. College football is my passion outside of the NFL draft. Those 2 things are my favorite things. So I go deep diving into the group of 5. Or group of 6 now, or whatever you want to call it. But I go into it and do my research on the players, the transfers and stuff that they got in. I like that's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah. So stick with us. We'll stick with you guys. Till then, see y'all next time.
See ya.
See ya.